That last song was such a touching little number about athleticism and hallucinogenic drugs. You don't really hear enough of that in folk music anymore. I'm just doing what I can. But it also reminded me of another touching story that I would like to pass on to you and dedicate to my brother who's here tonight. My father, back in Beaverton, Oregon, when I was a kid, my dad was really into sports. He was a big jock, and we tried, and while my brother was very good at sports, I was considerably less good. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't try. I wanted to be involved in my family activities, so I gave it everything I had. And by the time I was a junior in high school at Beaverton High School in Beaverton, Oregon, I was on the varsity football team. Now, I ain't saying I played very much, but I was on the team. Now, if you've never been on any kind of football team in high school, let me just tell you real quickly what that's like so you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're on the football team in high school, that means you and about 50 other guys are going to get together for about 4 months out of the year, every day for about 90 minutes to 2 hours a day. You're going to take off your comfortable outfits, and you're going to put on uncomfortable outfits. And then you're going to go outside, whether it's raining or freezing or really hot or really cold, it doesn't fucking matter. You're going to go outside in those uncomfortable outfits, and you're going to run into and away from each other, all in relationship to the movement of a ball. Now, this whole thing is going to happen while you are consistently being yelled at by adults. Now, sometimes it happens right after school. Sometimes it happens at another school. Sometimes they even have people gather around and keep track of the shit you do while you're doing it. Sometimes it's under the lights. Sometimes it's at another school. Sometimes they get kids from another school to do it with you. But technically, all you're really doing is what I described before. Now, your parents, at least in my case, my parents told me that I was representing the community. And they said that if things went well, we could win district. Now listen, I didn't even know I was from a district, let alone know that it was up for fucking grabs, and that somehow I was responsible for attaining it for everybody, and I had to wear this uncomfortable fucking outfit to do it. Right? So one afternoon I'm at football practice, right? And we got this thing that they make you do where they have this sled with pads on it, and you gotta push this sled. And the coach stands on it and yells at you while you push the sled. This never happens during the game, but they make you practice it anyway. Not only do they make you practice it, you gotta wait in line to push this fucking thing. So here I am, waiting in line to push something. And I notice across the field from this field I'm standing in is a whole different group of kids. And these kids have on all the same stuff they wore to school. And I know that they're smoking cigarettes, which I had heard was bad, but there's also some chicks standing around with these guys. So I tap this older guy in front of me and I say, "Who are those guys over there?" He said, "Those are the burnouts, man." I said, "What's a burnout?" He said, "The burnouts hang out in the smoke pit." I said, "What's a smoke pit?" He said, "That's where the burnouts hang out." And I didn't know any more than when I started. So I asked the coach, I said, "Coach, what's a burnout from the smoke pit, man?" And he said, "Oh, Snider, I would hate to see you turn into some kind of burnout from the smoke pit." Sorry, Coach. He said, "Son, I'm not trying to disparage any of the other kids at this school, but those kids over there, they're just a bunch of dirty sheep standing around in a field doing nothing." I said, "Well, I don't want to be that." So I went about my business. But then, about a week later, I was in the cafeteria sitting there minding my own business, and sits next to me is this kid that I clearly recognized as a burnout from the smoke pit. And I didn't know what to do. Then he started talking to me, and he seemed as nice as any of the other kids I'd ever met. So I didn't know what to do. And then he said to me, "Hey, Snider, man, have you ever tried psychedelic mushrooms before?" And I said, "No, I never tried nothing like that before." He said, "Would you like to try something like that?" I said, "Sure, I think I might like to try something like that." So he hands me this big handful of psychedelic mushrooms, and I eat them. And about 35 minutes later, I realized that there's no way I'm gonna be able to go to football practice that afternoon. So I decided to go stand in that other field with those other kids. And as I was standing in that field with those other kids, I saw the life that had been planned out for me from a distance for the first time. There they were, man, the football team. And I ain't trying to disparage any of the other kids at the school either. I'm just saying that it could be argued that they looked like a bunch of dirty sheep standing around in a field doing nothing too. And just as I was taking this information in, I looked up at the goalposts, and the goalposts turned into candles. And just as I was taking that in, they turned into Roman candles, and they went into the sky. And just as I was taking that in, I looked over at that sled I'd been pushing for a couple months, and I saw my friends lined up to push that sled, only now it wasn't a padded sled. It was Fred G. Sanford from the hit situation television comedy Sanford and Son. And he was holding his chest like it was the big one, and they were pushing him. Who would make that up? Now, let me tell you what happens next. This pad that they're pushing morphs from Fred Sanford into Jesus Christ himself. And I'm not trying to be sacrilegious. In fact, I was put out that they were pushing him. But they were pushing him. And then, just as I was about to get upset, he morphed into this other guy that wasn't Jesus, but did have a big beard and long hair and a robe and sandals, like some kind of guy that might have hung with Jesus in the day. And I'm staring at him, and these football players are pushing him, and as I'm staring at him, he looks over and makes eye contact with me. And then he yells across the field, "Hey man, do you have 2 10s for a quarter or 2 5s for a nickel?" Then he said, "Can you get to Arca Butler from here?" And I knew then in that moment, friends and neighbors and brothers and sisters, that I was never going to go back to football practice again for as long as I was going to be alive. And why, ironically to this day, I still follow Coach Boyer and the Beaverton Beavers because A, I think that this could be the year we win district. And B, we got the coolest goalposts in the whole fucking state. And that, brothers and sisters, is the touching story of how psychedelic drugs turned me from the scoreboard watching jock that my dad was hoping for into the peace-loving, pot-smoking, porn-watching, lazy-ass hippie that stands before you this afternoon at Bonnaroo. Conservative Christian, right-wing Republican, straight white American male, gay bashing, black fearing, war fighting, tree killing, regional leaders of sale, shirt tucking, frat housing, cake tapping, backslapping, hater of hippies like me, tree hugging, peace loving, pot smoking, porn watching, lazy ass hippies like me. Tree hugging, peace loving, pro-choice and gay wedding, widespread panic digging hippies like me. Skin color blinded, conspiracy minded, protesters of corporate greed. We who have nothing and most likely will till we all end up locked up in jail. By conservative Christian, right-wing Republican, straight white American man. Diamonds and dogs, boys and girls, we're living together in 2 separate worlds. We're following leaders up mountains of shame, looking for someone to blame. I know who I like to blame. Conservative Christian, right-wing Republican, straight white American man, gay bashing, black fearing, war fighting, tree killing, regional leaders of sale, quite diligently, working so hard to keep the free reins of this democracy. From tree-hugging, peace-loving, pot-smoking, porn-watching, lazy-ass hippies like me. Tree-hugging, peace-loving, pot-smoking, porn-watching, lazy-ass hippies like me. Tree-hugging, peace-loving, pot-smoking, porn-watching, lazy-ass hippies like me. Tree-hugging, peace-loving, barefoot and folk singing, lazy-ass hippies